Welcome to the Black on Shelf podcast, a podcast championing Black and brown entrepreneurs on the digital and physical shelves. I'm your host, Tanaj Ferguson. This is Black on Shelf. All right, so we are talking to Christian Sargent. Cortney cannot be here, her husband and co-founder, but she's going to represent for the home and she's going to do it just fine. So we're excited to have you here, Christian. Christian. We're excited to have you here. I want to get into some of your background because I heard that you had a past in radio. And so when I was coming to bring you on, I was like, I'm coming on with someone who was in radio. She's gonna teach me some things. Tell us about, your background and definitely stop on your radio personality experience.
I will do that. So it's funny because, okay, so I think we're all familiar, if we're not, with the new, well, I don't want to call it the new spiritualist movement of manifesting and speaking things into existence and all of that. Well, the funny thing about it is you don't know you're actually walking in that, like, until you look in your past and you're like, dang, I did say I was going to do that, didn't I? So that going into radio was actually like that for me. I was working at Waste Management as a customer service representative, taking calls for people who missed their trash pickups, the trash man knocked their can over, all that. So we had like a spirit day, if you will, at work, where they handed out these sheets of paper. What would you do? Like, what are your dream jobs or whatever? Oh, okay. And so I actually said that my dream job was to be a bank teller because I love money. It was to be a comedian and to be a radio personality. Oh, and so, like, this would be probably like 2011, and I actually ended up becoming a radio personality in about 2013. So it was 2 years later. But it's just so powerful, like what your heart and your mind aligns with, and then what actually happens. So
That is funny. The other thing is you got your crash course in customer service, right?
Right. It has helped. I've been able to put all those skills together. Yeah. So I really did enjoy my time in radio, actually finding my voice, knowing how to represent my comedic abilities, because I had my own little set during our morning show where my radio.
We gotta run the tape on these. We gotta see, like, are you funny? Like, we need to see this. Like, I love it. Yeah, you need to give us a little throwback one of these days. Okay, bring out the comedian for us.
Yeah. Now that will be sprinkled throughout this interview.
Okay.
Yes. So my radio personality name was Dainty C. I had my own segment where I would do headlines. Most of my crazy headlines came out of Florida. God bless those people. And so it was like really fun. And so I got a chance to have the serious side where we talked about different things that were going on in the world, and then have that comedic relief to just help people to de-stress and just overall enjoy life. So
okay, how did you introduce yourself on your show?
Here we go.
Set the stage for us.
So when my beat would drop,
taking you back.
Yeah, I know, right? My beat would drop, dun 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 dun, and I would come in. Here we go.
Hey.
Yeah, so that would be my headline drop spot for people to know. Oh my goodness, it's about to get ratchet. It was ratchet headlines with Dainty C. So that was honestly back in the day, but I'll bring it back.
Dainty C.
Yes.
So where's the dainty coming from? Tell us about the background on that.
Well, I love fashion. I used to have a clothing and a shoe boutique like back in 2011. So like entrepreneurship has been something that I've tried, but it wasn't as big or as successful as Vicky Cakes.
Yes.
But so people knew me for wearing heels every day, like 4 stilettos to work. It didn't matter if it was Tuesday, if it was Wednesday, I was in Kroger pushing a cart with some heels. So that's where the dainty came in. It was between Diva C and Dainty C, and everybody was like, no, don't do Diva because Diva doesn't have a nice connotation. And I was like,
okay, Dainty C.
Dainty C.
I love that. So where did you grow up?
I am originally from Gary, Indiana. Born and raised, which is right next door to Chicago, Illinois.
Yes.
My mom, Vicky, actually still lives in Gary. So when we recently went to Chicago to go to Jewel, she was able to come over to Chicago with us, stay, enjoy the city. And, you know, Gary's the hometown of the late, great King of Pop, Michael Jackson.
Yes.
So I got the celebrity blood.
You have it, yes. That is one thing I know about Gary. I know one other person from Gary, and I feel like it's because of the size. If you know someone from Gary, you actually remember it, because it's like,
yes.
Oh, I've never heard of that before until you do. And for some reason, Gary, y'all have a lot of pride in your city.
Yeah,
which is great.
You know, one thing I will say, you know, it's one of those kind of success stories, right? Where you get to say that you made it out of a place that was literally, you know, abject poverty. It wasn't, you know, booming, and it wasn't a major city, but it had its roots, and everybody love it. I really, you know, to in the future, hopefully, you know, being able to go back to my hometown, help build it back up. Because I honestly feel like, you know, there could be some gentrification getting ready to take place in Gary. But who knows, you know, one day Lord may lead for me to go and, you know, be the mayor. I may want to help people.
Okay. We can support that campaign. We can support that.
And then we can play this podcast and say she's spoken. Yeah. Yes. Vote for me, Dainty C. Okay.
Hey, okay.
Yeah.
I love that. So you were raised in Indiana. You're in Texas right now, are you?
Yes, the DFW area. Yes.
Yes. I went to business school in Austin, Texas. Love that area. What happened in between all that?
So with moving, we moved to Dallas in 2016. My husband and I did. And at the time, we had the perfect jobs. Like, it's so crazy. One day, you know I'll get to tell a story, probably have to write a book to tell it. But Cortney and I, my husband, we lived in Tupelo, Mississippi, where we were radio hosts. And we had our first child. We had the dream jobs. This was our first time ever having a 2-income household. Okay. So by this time, we had been married for 7 years. We got married in 2009 at 21 years old. At
this point, you've honestly lived like a million lives and you're only in your 30s. So I'm just like, Christian, you already lived a million lives.
It's layered, but it's so good because all of these experiences has been the greatest teacher for where we are now, to honestly be firm in our foundation, to be so laser focused, and to be able to scale in whatever we choose to do in a short time span, you know? So we've really been able, and I consider it a blessing, to cut out a lot of the, you know, other stuff that usually happens in your 30s, because we went through it early, to now be able to really just enjoy this fruitful season and to continue to be a resource to other people. We left our perfect jobs, our dream home in Tupelo. We had our first son at the time. He had just turned 1 in May. Okay. And so I remember sitting at the kitchen table talking to Cortney, and I looked at him and I was like, I don't want to get stuck here. You know, like I don't want to be stuck. I feel like we're too comfortable. I know that we finally do have a good, stable home front, stable incomes and all of that, but I don't want Mississippi to be our end. There's too much in us to just stop here. And not saying Mississippi is bad, but when you have the kind of mindset that we have, and sometimes people aren't as progressive towards those thoughts, you have to get out of that environment in order to awaken the rest of who you're meant to be.
I believe that fully. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So
you sense that some of that on your job and just in your community. You sense a little bit of small-mindedness, maybe you could call it. Yeah.
And it becomes tension because people want to literally hold you back. And it's not that you don't want to fight against those people and their desires, but you realize that what your life is meant to accomplish and what you're meant to do is greater than what they want for you. Yeah. And when you have love for them, you can love people more than you love your own
purpose.
Happiness.
Yep.
Your own purpose and your vision. Yep. And so I remember sitting at the kitchen table and I looked at him and I said, if not now, then when? And if not us, then who?
Yeah.
I'm not finna watch everybody else around us pack up, leave, thrive, flourish, grow. If we're too big for this pond, we need to get into the ocean that we're meant to be in. Like, I don't ever want to sit somewhere and regret things. And so we literally did. We didn't put our roots down. As far as buying a home, we were literally in the home buying process. Like, We had an offer in. We were about to do it, buy our first home together and everything. I would have been the first homeowner at the time in my family. So that was going to be like a big thing. But I knew that if we did that, we were going to stay for at least another 5 or 10 years. That's a major investment. So we left. We had that conversation in May. And girl, by July 1st, we were in our home in Dallas, Texas. We didn't tell anybody. Yeah, that's the kind of mindset that my husband and I
action oriented.
Because if you don't, you get stuck in the what ifs. And then that becomes a I should have, or if I would have, and I don't have time for that in my life. So we act as soon as we connect with it, we agree with it, our heart and minds align with it. We don't wait for other people's approval. And so we didn't tell anybody until 2 weeks before we left. The only people that knew was my sister who lives here, because she actually went and looked at houses for us and just FaceTimed us. That's how serious we were.
Oh, wow.
She just FaceTimed us while she looked at the houses. We told her where we wanted to stay. She found the place. We signed the lease. We gave 2 weeks notice. People were shocked. Do you hear me? I mean, like when they found out we were leaving. Wow. But that's what we had to do. And so when we got here in 2016, ever since then, it's truly been a blessing. And it's one of the best decisions we've ever made. So I'm really excited to be here in Dallas.
So when you moved to Dallas, what were some of the key things you did to sort of create that new environment? Well, you're in a new environment, to sort of create the benefits of the new environment, take advantage of kind of the bigger thinking, the opportunities. What were some of the things that Dallas gave you?
For me, and I for my husband with this, it gave us a clean slate. We almost were able to become new people because nobody knew us. We weren't worried about what somebody thought if we did this or if we wanted this. Were they looking at us and why y'all want that? Why y'all live there? Why y'all choose that? We could literally be incognito and build all over again. And go for more. So the opportunities, the market has shifted, because the funny thing is we tried to move to Dallas 2 times prior to when we actually moved on the 3rd time. The previous 2 times were unsuccessful because Cortney could never get a job opportunity because he didn't live in Dallas. They wanted everybody that interviewed to come in. They didn't want you to do anything online or cameras or any of this. So we were limited. We didn't have the money and resources at the time. And so the first 2 times were failures. That 3rd time, though, left with no job opportunities, just our savings, a cute credit score, and determination.
Hey, hello. That's all it takes.
That's all it takes. So when we got here, we just continue in that same vein and that mindset that we're here for a reason. We didn't come here to struggle. We didn't come here to be stressed out. We didn't come here to regret anything. We don't owe anybody any explanation for why we did what we did. This is for our family and our future. And so Dallas has really just been an open book for us in the form of opportunities, connections, networking, receptivity. The mindset, of course, is big because people here are focused on their future. They don't really care about what you got going on. It's about networking and building. Everything around us is growing, literally.
You can't help but also grow, right?
Yes.
When you're in that type of environment where every time you talk to someone, they're talking about something new, something different, some opportunity. If you're a growth-minded person, you can thrive in that type of environment.
Absolutely. It's water. It's literally water to us, to anyone who's willing, to literally drink from that well and just realize that there is nobody stopping you from doing anything. If you want to switch professions in 2 months, if you want to change your industry, the opportunities are here. And there's so many remote opportunities that, it's crazy.
I mean, the environment is very different from 2016. Like if someone was trying to move in 2021, sky is the limit at this point.
Absolutely. Yes.
We're just in a tech savvy environment where the flexibility is there entirely, and being able to be remote.
Yes.
There's more possibilities than ever before. I mean, I know there's still places where that's still not 100%, but it's higher than it ever was before, given everything that's happened in our world. But I love that you tell that story too, about community and about how, being in a different environment was a clean slate. And getting around people that have this bigger mindset. That's a big reason why I started Black on Shelf. I really wanted more people to have a resource where they could hear compelling, inspiring stories. And for something about that story each week to really say, there's something new and different I could do. There's some motivation I just got. there's, the next action step I now have, and you see someone who literally, their part of their story is yours. Yes. But they did something different, right? So you could also have that outcome if you do a few key different things. So talk to us about your origin story. I love how your background brought you to this bigger fishbowl, and you obviously seized the opportunity. Vicky Cakes is here, but take us through how that all started.
Yeah, so Vicky Cakes, the journey of it is mine. It's amazing. I am the youngest of 4 children. My mother, Vicky, when she had me, my father got divorced, I believe I was 2 years old. So imagine a single woman in her 30s. I believe she was 35 when 30 at me. So I'm 33 now. Yeah. She was 33 with 4 kids at that point.
Wow.
So her and my dad got divorced. She became a single mother of 4, and it became like a survival of the fittest, which is a lot of our stories. You know what I'm saying? In our culture as Black women. Yeah. The statistics show that a lot of, the homes are single mother homes, single family homes. Yeah. And so with that being the case, it wasn't really like a disadvantage though for me, because my mother always overcompensated with love. She didn't have money, but what she did have was a lot of love, and she poured that into us. I think she may now be realizing she sacrificed a lot of herself to make sure that we didn't go without, because my dad wasn't present. Yeah. But I'm grateful to God for her, and that's why this is in honor of her while she's still living. Yes. So
give her flowers while she's here.
Come on, because I don't think I'm trying to be crying online. Why you didn't do this while I was here?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm gonna give her hers because she deserves it all.
So are you like the favorite child at this point? Because I saw Mom's picture on the package. So you're looking like the favorite sibling, if the favorite child among your siblings. How do they feel about this?
She's a really good one, because I don't know if I could not have a favorite. If I was her, I would definitely be her favorite. But we definitely talk all the time, and we've been like this since I left home. So like when I was in college, I would talk to my mom 4 times a day. When I would leave every class, when I would sit in the dining hall on campus, I talked to her. So before we even got here, our relationship has always been really close and tight. And I'm grateful for that. So I may not be the favorite, but I definitely,
you up there, you special to her,
So, she created this recipe out of necessity. So she didn't have extra disposable income. There were no treats once a month where we would go out to Denny's or IHOP or Bennigan's or Bob Evans. We ate at the crib, but we didn't feel like we were missing anything because she could cook so good.
Yeah.
So she's from Cleveland, Mississippi. She has all of the cooking skills that Paula Deen wished she could have gotten. It's amazing. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
So she's known for her dishes. And so our friends and our cousins and our family, people would come over to play the Sega with my brother or whatever, and everybody wanted Auntie Vicky. They call her this right now, even if she's not their auntie. Mm-hmm. They call her Auntie Vicky. They would want her pancakes. Mm-hmm. And so it was just amazing how good they were, and how much I remember sitting at the table while she was making them at the stove. And me and my siblings would be at the table just waiting with our plates, playing with each other, laughing, talking, because she never let us disperse to eat. We always had to eat at the table. And so that, to me, stuck with me my entire life. And when my husband and I got married, when we got married in 2009, I had the recipe, but I didn't want to cook it. So I still was using Bisquick, girl, and I was just doctoring it up. Like I was bootlegging Bisquick. So I was using some of my mama's stuff to make Bisquick taste good.
Yeah, because that's what you had. It was the convenience you were wanting.
Yes. I'm 21. I don't want to make nothing from scratch, sis. I want to enjoy this. Mm-hmm. So I did, but I feel like it wasn't as good. But my husband didn't even know this recipe existed. So we were married from 2009 to 2014. And it wasn't until we went back to my mother's house for Thanksgiving, from Mississippi to Indiana, she made the pancakes for everybody that morning. Okay. So me and my siblings, we're all sitting around the table again, like old days. And we're eating like normal. And my husband, Cortney's at the table like, what is wrong with y'all? Like, these are the best.
Why aren't y'all freaking out?
Yes. He was like, he told her, he said, Miss Vicky, I don't even eat pancakes, but these are the best pancakes I've ever had. Like, you guys should be selling these, and y'all should name them Vicky Cakes.
Your Bisquick was not hitting at all. Okay, not that part, but also hers was also just that good.
Yeah, yes. So at this point, you know, we all thought it was funny. We were laughing. He was like, no, we should be selling these, and they should be called Vicky Cakes. So by this time, he had his own school. He was a music instructor, had instructors where children would come get lessons. He had been an entrepreneur from 2010 up until 2014. So he had the mindset. I didn't. There was no desire in my heart to do that. And so she laughed and she said, oh no, Cortney, I could never sell these. I would end up giving them away. And so I was like, I'm not in the ministry of donations. I'm in the ministry of we're not giving away. No. Deposits.
Give me your money.
Make it rain. Make it rain.
Right.
So we just laughed and we thought it was funny. Nothing happened. Okay, so we're talking 2014. He tastes them. I go back home and I start
the company everything.
Everything. He named
all of Vicky Cakes. We should sell this. Okay.
Yes. And so we would go back home, and every Saturday after that, I started making her recipe. He didn't want Bisquick no more. It was a no. Okay.
You know, sometimes when you taste it, you can't go back to certain things. That's what that was right there. It's like we can't go back.
You can't go back. And so he it's funny because I have memories to come up from Facebook, posts of like from 2015, 2014 that shows me in the kitchen, or like a picture of my countertop with the ingredients out saying I'm getting ready to make these cakes. So like, it's literally in history that this was a name from way back then that we never did anything with.
So for the trademark, you just be like, Facebook, thank you very much for admitting on that.
Right, like I got receipts, okay? The receipt for Facebook.
Yeah.
So it would be 2014. We watch Shark Tank religiously, but it would just take so many years of watching that and getting frustrated. Like, why are they getting a deal for this dumb stuff? Like, what can we do? Like, why haven't we come up with something to make us millions or make us money? Like, what are we doing wrong? And so it finally clicked in 2019. I just decided, you know, I'm ready. He would ask me every year without fail. He wouldn't badger me, but he would always ask me, Christian, when you gonna stop playing and get these people these pancakes? When you gonna do it? These people need these pancakes, Christian. We need to either open a restaurant or you need to package these and sell these. And so he was consistent, and I'm so grateful for that, because that's when you know your connection and your relationship is really edifying your purpose. You know,
that accountability to make sure you actually walk into what you should, and we have what you have here today.
Yes. And then somebody trusting enough, because it's not his mom. It's my mom. You know what I'm saying? And for him to be willing to support that. You have some people that be like, oh yeah, they good, but they would never actually support you and you walking it out and actually partnering with you and allowing you to lead in what their vision was, because it is definitely his idea. But I'm just super grateful that he's an amazing co-founder and co-owner with me. So
Chris. Cortney. For your accountability, for your being a great partner, all the things, helping her walk in her purpose. Yes. So what is it like working with your significant other?
It's amazing. It's amazing because of all the skills that he has. So he saved us so much money, which we'll get into this, I'm sure, when we talk about how we started the company. But the light bulb clicked for me one day. I was at home with our son, because after we moved here from Mississippi, I became a full-time stay-at-home mom. So I haven't worked since we moved here. So I had to live.
This is why I said Christian has lived a million lives, because personality, like all the jobs, stay-at-home mom, like she's actually done it all.
Yes. And I mean, it's beautiful. I really hope to be able to pour into other women to help them to maintain and to just, keep work-life balance. But I remember calling him one day while he was at work, and I said, what are you doing? And he was like, I'm on my lunch break. Why? And I said, well, I have done some research this morning and I'm ready to start Vicky Cakes. And he got quiet, and then he said, don't play with my emotions. I said, I'm dead serious, because up until this point, I never said that to him.
Yeah.
So, and I knew the kind of person that he is. He takes anything that he puts his effort into 1000% serious. So I knew I couldn't half step it. That's why I kept pushing it off. I kept saying, no, let's wait till CJ's in school. I don't want a restaurant. That's a lot of work. And I want to do this first and this. So I knew that if and when I was ready, I would have to be ready.
Yes.
Like, no sidestepping. So I had done my research that morning and I was fired up. And the number one thing that fired me up was when I researched the number one selling pancake mix in the world, which is or was Aunt Jemima, because
right,
got the Vicky Cakes.
The name change, right? That too.
I found that history out. That was my first time finding out in 2019 that Aunt Jemima was not a real woman. It was a caricature. It was Nancy Green, the mascot for Aunt Jemima, the blackface character they saw at a minstrel show. That got me so upset that day that I was like, oh, so we're using Black people to sell products. Oh, so we're out here literally culturally appropriating images
entirely
to make money. Oh, so we're literally keeping up with stigmas and, you know,
reinforcing them, basically.
Reinforcing it. Because at the time, like, I went line by line, precept upon precept in my psychology, you know, mindset. I was like, so back then, mammies took care of white families. They used the mammy's face on a box to sell products to those white families, even though it wasn't this woman's recipe. It had nothing to do with her or her legacy or lineage. And then Black people just continue to Black owned.
It's pretty messed up. It's pretty messed up. It's pretty messed up. And I even think the new name is still kind of messed up because it's still perpetuating that same heritage, but I guess that is their history. So
they can't escape it. You can't escape it.
It is what it is.
Who you are. And so for me, I just started building on that because I am a huge proponent now of understanding of how we got here. Extremely focused on making my competition's weaknesses our strengths. And I started naming them off in my own mind and in my phone notes. I was boom, first point. They are not a real recipe, okay? They're not a real recipe connected to the face that's on the brand. Okay, so that matters when you just make something up and then sell it as if though it's owned by this individual. Yeah. So Vicky Cakes has a real recipe.
Yeah, authenticity has a real storyline. Your mom's 40-plus-year-old recipe.
Yes, yes. And so when that's a story, that's your anchor. That's literally your foundation for where you can drive them out the neighborhood easily when people find out the truth and then notice the replacement. So if all of these holes are in your story, I'm going to come in really nicely and fill it in with facts. I don't mind being the brand or the company that replaces Aunt Jemima. I would love to hire all of their employees once we buy up their factories for them. How about that? Like, that's literally where I am with this. And in my mind, I instantly took on that mindset. We're replacing them. And I started saying it repeatedly. We're replacing them. They will not be on the shelves by us. They will be gone, period. And that has been my mindset from day one. Yeah. And
that mindset is going to help you play big as well, because they are everywhere.
Yes.
The penetration across the US and beyond is high. The brand awareness is high. Everybody knows Aunt Jemima. So, you know, saying to yourself that you will replace them is a big deal.
It is. But the thing about it was that never scared me was knowing that if people could easily believe a lie and they've never had to be accountable for it, I know that when people find out the truth, or at least it was my heart's hope that people would care enough to hold them accountable. Right? So I know you have some people that say, well, that was our ancestors, get over it. No, you have to understand that my people thought that this was really Black owned. So even if we take other cultures or race out of it, I want my people, who are the world's largest consumers, right? Mm-hmm. We're the ones spending the most money. I want us to care. I don't care
about on this product. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I want my people to know and support an honest product and a real story and true legacy, not the other way around. I want my people to sit at the table with their Black children and families, see our people represented in commercials, which we are barely represented. If we are, it's a woman by herself with no daddy in the commercial, or it's biracial looking kids in the commercial. Stop playing with me. So if we're going to replace them, let's replace all of it. Let's let's wipe it
She
clean.
said, clean slate.
Let's wait,
Clean
because
slate.
we might as well, because all of it is propaganda that was built off of a lie anyway to get sales from our people, and that matters to me.
100%, 100%. And that's why Vicky Cakes is here and doing so well straight out the gates.
Yes,
straight out the gates. You know, there's some key parts of your story that really interest me, and I think we could learn from here. So some of them include some of your milestones. You started making this at your house. Talk to us about the progression of building this in the past 2.5 years.
Yeah,
From a manufacturing standpoint, and we can get to some other standpoints, but that's a really good one that I really want to make sure people understand. I watched your year in review that you posted back in like May or so, and you had a lot packed into there. There was a lot. And I also looked at how like packing boxes and shipping, and I was just thinking, you must have been so tired a lot of the time.
Yes.
So talk to us about the progression of this.
Okay, great. So I definitely was tired, but I was more driven than anything by the fact that it was happening. That's the way I envisioned it. And I was so graced. I was so graced and grateful to get through it with complete sanity, and even more gratitude in the whole process. So we started in 2019 from our home here in Dallas, Texas. I got the cottage law here actually protecting me to be able to manufacture out of my home and just sell direct to consumer. So I could not be on a third-party site or sold in stores because I didn't have a manufacturer's license as of May. So what we did was we did our research, found out that manufacturer's license don't cost that much money, which a lot of people don't know these things, but it's based off of your annual revenue. So if you've made between $0 to $10,000, your manufacturing license is like $250. If the more you make, the more it increases. And so at that time, that wasn't on my mind though. So I just wanted to keep going under the cottage law. Which
let's explain for some people. So cottage law is when, so in certain states and counties allow you to make a product, certain types of products, not all, in your home, if you're able to say how it's going to be made and maintain your standards. And then like Christian mentioned, direct to consumer. So this would go to customers that specifically want it and are paying for it. They know where you're making it if you're able to buy it that way.
Yep, absolutely. So our packaging had to have our home address on it. Like my address is out here in the Straits.
Oh my gosh.
No P.O. box. It had to be directly to your crib because that's where it's made. And so that's why when you have a big vision, you have to be ready to make big moves. Like you can't plan on staying there long term. Right. Because the bigger you grow, the more people are going to look at that stuff and call you on it. And
I mean, you outgrow that type of stuff also. So the cottage law is not meant to do forever. It's meant to, remove the barriers for you getting started. What if you had to start off perhaps in a manufacturing facility? That might have stopped you from really moving forward in the time period because you wouldn't have gained that momentum necessarily. You would build it, but not like you were able to really start to make some money and reinvest that and grow. So these things are great to get a head start and to get a rolling start.
Yes, that's right. Absolutely. And and we have a consumable product. So you really have to be careful there. So as you stated about, it being for certain, types of industries and markets, that is absolutely correct. So do your due diligence to research and find out what protects you and what, resources you can use in your area. So we launched on Mother's Day of 2019. We took pre-orders. We invested $12.17, I believe, into the company at first. And we only spent that to buy the domain name. So my husband is a graphic designer, award-winning web designer. And so we used his skill to build out Vicky Cakes, like the pictures right now that are on our packaging was taken in my home kitchen. Like he set our whole kitchen up and did all of that. And so those are the key components that make this even more of an organic experience, because you're talking about people who's always had a big vision. We just had to have big faith along with that. We had to take big steps from the beginning. And so we never tried to side cut anything. We just believed that this is where we were meant to be and dominate in it. So we did pre-orders. We had family and friends support us or whatever. And it was great because we then used that money to invest in the actual bags we needed. I had priced all that. So I knew how much we needed to make at least to get the bags and to get the ingredients for the mix, because I wanted to see just how much we could do this without putting any of our home money into it. And it worked. Pre-orders worked so well for us that we were able to buy the first, 50 or 100 bags. It wasn't a whole lot, but it was enough to get started, which is proof of concept. Anytime you can get people to exchange money for goods that they will get at a later date, you win it. Okay, you win it, because if I ain't never heard of Vicky Cakes, girl, you just been at home with your son. Why is you selling pancakes? If people can get over that and still give you money, like I ain't talked about cooking no time prior to this, but people believed that when or whatever we came up with and we did, that it was legit, right? And that we were going to follow through with it and do it. And so from May 19th of 2019 up until today, we've never missed a day of posting on social media. We've never not communicated with our audience. I don't like to call people our followers. With our audience, we communicate. We focus on relationship and customer experience, because that's why people are even a part of your brand and a part of your journey, because of the experience with you, not the product, but the people. And so we just kept building from there. We did festivals, which was so fun. Me and my husband would literally pack up our SUV with a tent, sandbags, a portable hand washing station. We had
table, right?
All of that. Pancakes in a suitcase, in a luggage. I have pictures of all of this, like in the scorching Dallas, Texas heat, at wine and at food and wine festivals. We were the only people out there with pancakes.
Of course.
Girl, we did not care. Okay. This was May we started, and by September we were then investing money into these. We were then investing money into the equipment. We were investing money into the what is it called? The health inspections, because you had to get an inspection for every festival you went to from that county. So we were in Denton County. We had to pay $150 for that, plus $375 to even attend the festival. Then we had to actually take the day usually from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. We were out there slanging pancakes. So when it comes to how much you're willing to put in, you got to be willing to let people actually see you and grow to trust you, and then get excited about you and want to see you grow. Because everybody out there at the festivals were like, have you guys been on Shark Tank? We think we've seen you on Shark Tank. And I'm like, no.
But you're like, but you see my future. You see that I'm going to be successful. It might not need to include Shark Tank, but you get the vision. Something you said too about, entrepreneurs being willing to be in front of people. I think that's also a really great point that we really can drive past, because that's legitimate here. Like, I think the age of social media makes us think we could put up a website and just drive people direct to consumer, which yes, we can, but there's just nothing like actually having real bodies, real relationships, particularly at the beginning, to build your brand. So there's real people, real humans that have something to say about your brand. They are they are the people that will go and tell someone else in real life that you should buy this or that, not just reviews. Yes, you want those same people to write the reviews on your website or other platforms, but without meeting real people, you will have to spend the money in other ways to get those real people. And it's just a choice. There's not one thing better than another, but we can't drive by the fact that it's still important to really engage and connect with your actual customer.
Yes.
Especially at the beginning, to learn. Tell us about some of the things you learned in those early days from customers that tried the product. What are some things that you learned, maybe that you might have even acted upon and implemented in the business?
Oh, yes. So we actually, when we started, we were Vicky Cakes Pancake Mix. So that's what our LLC is. We hadn't had the pancakes and waffle mix yet. I added waffle onto it because I hadn't tested out the waffle version. So I knew that my mom's recipe was bomb for pancakes, but when we tried making waffles out of it, it was like your traditional dense, thick waffle. And I don't like that. I don't like the way that most waffles make me feel. It makes me feel really full. They're really usually not that enjoyable. And so Cortney and I both were like, no, these waffles need to be fluffier than this. If we're going to tell people they can use it for waffles, we want them to get a good experience. So I had to go in the kitchen, research that, and actually implement like what I found, that you need a little more liquid to the waffle recipe than you did the pancake recipe. So with that, I had to actually tweak my mom's recipe to fit and to actually embody being versatile. from pancakes and waffles, because people have started asking, can I make waffles with this? And I was like, yes, but I don't know. Once I found that out, we the next printing job on our labels, we went ahead and implemented the waffle instructions direction. And then after that, we had people start asking us when we were going to come out with a vegan line, right? So I'm out here ignorant, like most people do not know that vegan is anything that is void, does not include animal-based product.
No eggs, no milk.
Eggs, fat, none of that. Okay. So I'm sitting on the bed one day reading comments, because we had gotten featured by We Buy Black at the time. This was like in July of 2019. And all these people were like, oh my goodness, I want to support you guys. When are y'all coming out with a vegan line? And so I told Cortney, I said, why can't people just be out here supporting? Like, why we got to do vegan? And he looked at me and was like,
that's the trend. That's what people looking for.
Yeah.
Give them what they
want.
I
didn't know that was vegan. I didn't know it. And so he looked at me and he said, Christian, our mix is vegan. I said, it is. Oh, okay. So the next time that we printed, I got our next batch of labels, we included the vegan friendly because we have milk. We don't have powdered eggs. It's not add water only. So we implemented that. So everything was a learning curve, and all of the feedback we implemented. Then we started having people ask us, well, what can we use if we're going to make it vegan? I'm like, girl, if you vegan, use what you use.
You should know this. But your customers is like, you're going to have to feed me. You're going to have to tell me what to do. Tell me.
Yes. And so it's about educating the customer, the consumer. And so you can't get mad about it. You just got to level up and give it to them. And so we made it real plain. So on the back of our packaging, the next print job, we added the vegan instructions.
Hello. Okay? Yes.
So it was the steady progression, and not saying, well, we'll wait on that. Next time we'll wait. No, do it now. Because as you grow bigger and people keep asking you and you keep telling them to wait, they're going to forget you exist because you've never had what they needed the 3 or 4 times they've come back and reminded you. Like, why would I send you somewhere else when I can give you what you're asking for?
Yeah. And that's important. Like, take advantage of being smaller and agile. For a bigger company, it might take them a minute to go through their labels, right? But you're able to do that in a pretty good cycle where you're actually able to say, I got you in a month. We'll send you this vegan formulation so that you feel comfortable and you're able to, really have people grow with you. And the other thing is, when they see you paying attention to their needs that way, you're a brand that they really can count on at that point.
Yes. And that's exactly what it was about. It's always been your experience. So it was like, we're going to implement this. And in the meantime, before us being able to do our next bag run or label run, we started creating charts on our social media where we would tell them what they could use. Like, if you're already following us and our bags don't say this yet, let me go ahead and tell you through our social media, since you follow us, what you can use. Save this chart, use this for reference. And once we got those new labels printed, we had applesauce for egg replacer. You can use your Just Egg. You can use aquafaba or yogurt for egg replacer, almond milk, soy milk, hemp milk, oat milk, goat milk, nut milk. I don't care what you want to use. We told you all about that bag. Yes. What you could do. The same results as people who want to use regular or buttermilk. And so once you really lessen the gap and show people that you're inclusive of their lifestyle and you're not just trying to push them out and say, oh, still nothing for you yet, we'll come out with the vegan version in 2022. You're not going to be open in 2022.
Right.
Because everybody's going vegan in 2020. Okay. That's what happened. So with that being the case, we fell in line to more opportunities like Tabitha Brown. When you get featured by Tabitha Brown before she blows up, you got the check of approval. So now when people ask how vegan is it, it's Tabitha Brown vegan.
Okay, right.
What else do you want?
And that's saying everything. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's a big deal. I really love that type of radical consumer engagement where you are paying attention. And that literally is a benefit when you're starting to connect with real people. They will give you these when you're at the table at an event like that, they're telling you and asking you questions that help you say, this is the type of stuff they care about. Let me address that in a post or on the packaging. That is amazing. And so I encourage the Boss Fam, if you have opportunities to test out your product with real people that are not your family, that's good too. But getting outside, particularly once you have a good viable product, all you could do is learn at that point. Even if they say they hate it, you're learning and you could start to dissect what about it.
Yes.
That's important to have that step, because if you didn't do that and now you're getting all these opportunities, you would crumble.
Miss out.
Right? You would miss out. Yeah. The other thing is maybe you wouldn't even be where you are, because partly the iterating on those comments is what has gotten you here in a way that's appealing to so many more people.
Yes. And that for me is the biggest thing, because I always want to be ahead of the curve. Mm-hmm. Everybody on the pancake mix aisle is add water only. I'm about to not be that. Like, everything about the people at the top became a blueprint. Like, if none of you guys want to listen to consumers, if none of you guys want to consider these people that still eat this type of food, but you don't have it available, it's a thing of, it's simple. If you're already buying buttermilk, well, you're always already buying milk for your house, you're already buying eggs for your house, right? So if you give me add water only, well, you've kind of simplified me not having to use those ingredients, but it's not a quality product. And most people end up doctoring it up anyway. It's never good the way they tell you straight from the box, but it works because you're the only option there. But then if we come along and we give you something that gives you consistency every time, no guesswork, no huge box of product, 24 ounces of mix for $3. Well, why is this so cheap? Because it's not quality. It's not good. It's something you're going to buy and use maybe once or twice and then put back on your pantry shelf for the rest of the year and end up trashing and having to buy a new one. And so that's where we did the comparison.
To be honest.
Yeah, to be honest. And so when we thought about the size, and people ask us, what are you guys, what about the packaging? It's so small. And I said, can you remember the last time you used an entire box of the pancake mix you've been buying? Like, when was the last time you used the whole box? You never. And with that being the case, with us having variety, I wanted us to be able to have something where people can literally all have a different form of breakfast every weekend if they want to. You can have original, blueberry, pecan, chocolate chip. That's 4 weekends in a month. You have a different flavor every month. And you're not wasting food. You don't have any leftovers that you feel guilty about. You don't have to worry about, should I refrigerate this or not? What does go at? Is it bad? You out here smelling mix in a box and you 40-some years old. Why you got your nose in that pancake mix box? Because you don't know if it's bad.
Right. Or you could have animals in it, depending where, so yeah, you don't want to keep that for 100 years. It's still food. You want it to be alive and well and stable, all that good stuff.
Correct. So for me, I'm like, well, if we're going to keep these ingredients out of it, if we're going to keep dried buttermilk solids out of our mix, if we're going to keep, dried powdered eggs out of our mix, things that if you were to leave the regular version on your counter would go bad, right? So why would I then want to buy a pancake mix that has all of these negative things, these pre-treated things in it, if you will, sped up processed things, overly processed and additives and preservatives in it just to make it for a long time house, then a long time on a pallet, then a long time on the store shelf, and then I'm going to bring it home and leave it on my shelf for a long time. Your family, that's in your body. That the shelf life may say 2025. That's a problem for me though. Nothing that I know should be lasting that long if it's fresh, wholesome ingredients.
Yeah, no, 100%. So, Tabitha was one milestone giving you that credential as a vegan product. You were also featured on Good Morning America.
Yes, Lord. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Talk to us about that.
Oh my goodness. So Tabitha Brown actually turned the faucet on. So the funny thing about it is I sent her our pancake mix like at the end of November 2019. And I sent her a nice note, which she read it on her Very Good Mondays with Tab and Choice, when her and Choice used to do those things. Yeah. And I sent her a nice letter. I sent her the pancake mixes. And I didn't hear anything back in November. I didn't hear them back in December. Then January come, and she put a video out talking about so she finna do a juice fast. And I'm like, that's not what you're supposed to be doing.
Right.
You're supposed to be
eating pancakes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh no. So we go through January. She did her juice cleanse for the beginning of the year. And I can't remember what she had posted, but I commented on her post one day, and she inboxed me. She inboxed the Vicky Cakes page, and she was, now you have to also remember, this is when Tabitha Brown was still accessible, if you will. Like she was still, her star hadn't fully risen. Yep. But it hadn't fully risen yet. She was still on her content creator vibe. So she was accessible. She was still receiving stuff to her P.O. box, taking it in, reviewing it authentically.
Answering DMs.
Clearly. So I had commented on a post. She hit me up in the DMs. I saw her message and I was like, what Tabitha want to say? So Tabitha, so she was like, she said, how you doing? She said, I'm going to be reviewing your pancake mix on Monday. This was like a Saturday. And so I lost it. Okay. I'm talking about running on couches. Child, I was out here. I was in my living room hollering. Cortney was like, what is it? What is it? I was like, oh my God. So I knew, like I had insight before it happened on that Monday. So
to prepare a little bit. Yeah.
Get myself together. So on Monday, she did just what she said. She reviewed the product. Well, she actually got it and she unboxed it, if you will, on Choice and Tabitha on Monday.
Yes.
That was cool. That was great. I was satisfied. She had to do nothing else for me. She rolled back around on Friday, okay, and cooked the pancakes and ate the pancakes for breakfast with Tab and Chance. That's what sent it over the moon. And it's funny because I was actually on my way to Miami right before the pandemic. This was like the last weekend in February. So I was on my way to Miami for a girls trip for my birthday. And I'm sitting in the Fort Lauderdale airport and my phone starts going crazy. Wow. I mean, like orders, like PayPal just da-da-dum, 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 da-da-dum. And I'm like, yeah, what is this? And so
now you're finally a bank teller, just not what you thought it was going to look like.
I'm getting deposits, okay?
Yes,
I'm
just getting deposits.
Definitely get deposits. And so I was like, what is going on? So I get on Instagram and I see in the mentions, Tabitha Brown tagged you in a post. Girl, when I tell you, it took everything in me because I didn't want them to think I was like a to run up on me. So I had to be very calm. I had to be very calm. But I didn't even have words. Wow. When I saw the video. I sat there. I didn't even make it through her whole review before I called Cortney. I was like, Cortney, Tabitha Brown has cooked these pancakes and made an entire, I think it was like a 12 or 14-minute video. Wow. And so I was just like, Jesus. And this is the result of this. And so literally the people, that was our first biggest day of sales ever. I think we probably got like about 500 to 600 orders, like in a 24-hour period. Wow. Girl, I was so ready to get back home. And I had just left that morning to go to Florida. I was ready to get back home to process the orders.
Like, hey girls, we ain't going on a birthday trip. Y'all all helping me.
Yeah. Come back and make this mix. Okay. So it was beautiful. It was a beautiful experience to have someone to share their platform and their influence. And that's when I really started to understand what influence is versus power. You know, the power of influence, because people can be influencers, but they don't really shape or sway their followers to believe in anything that they post. You can pay anybody $3,500 to post your stuff, but if nobody is going to actually go buy it, that doesn't matter. She has power. And
her audience is engaged.
Like what?
Yes.
Girl, all the time. It's like they be awake waiting for her to post something. So when she did that, it really did open the floodgates for people to try us, people to become authentic customers. And I always have to remember that I'm all myself. of the demographic of followers that we have, or our audience, because you have to always remember that once you're featured the way that we've been featured, you have to remember where those people came from, so you continue to give them that content. You can't go out the box and start posting, I don't know, bundles. They didn't come here for that.
They came come here for that.
Because Tabitha Brown, or they came over here because you were featured on GMA, which I'm supposed to be talking about. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry.
No, so this is a conversation. I'm with you. Okay, I'm with you.
You're with me.
I'm with you.
So we had that feature, which was great. It opened the floodgates, and we got the email from Good Morning America at the end of May. And
so it wasn't necessarily related to that one, but it was just another like great opportunity that you all were experiencing at the time.
But it came on the heels, of course, of the social unrest and injustice that was happening at the time. Yeah. And all of these companies trying to essentially find Black businesses to support. And GMA, they offered us, they emailed us, and I thought it was a scam at first. So I was driving. I did, girl. I was like, not today, Satan. I thought it was a scam because the subject line was like ABC, ABC and Vicky Cakes opportunity. And so I'm like, okay, great. And I literally just ignored it. I was sitting at a red light and I ignored the message. Then when I got home, I told Cortney, I was like, child, folks out here scamming on ABC name. And I was like, somebody sent me an email talking about an opportunity to be featured on Good Morning America, Good GMA3, or The View. And so at the time, that's when Keke Palmer, Michael Strahan, and that other girl was on GMA3. So the email was about an opportunity on one of those shows, whichever we would choose. And so I was like, no, I don't believe you. And he said, well, forward me the email, let me look at it. So I forwarded it to him. He called me back and he was like, Christian, this is
real.
This is them. And I was like, oh, okay. So
I didn't delete it. So
leave a little bit.
Okay.
So we talked to them, we got the details. The crazy thing about it was that was in the end of May, and they wanted us to be on like within 2 weeks. And mind you, I don't have no employees. I'm still making this mix out of my house, and sometimes in a commercial kitchen when I feel like it. I don't have the bandwidth for what they're talking to me about. At first they were like, well, we can send you guys on GMA3, which will be lower volume. You guys won't have to worry about, really big number caring for that. You guys may have to have between, 5,000 bags, between 5,000 units available. And I was like, okay, I still ain't got that. But it was okay. I was like, okay. And now another tip, don't tell people what you can't do. Figure it out. Take the opportunity.
Yeah.
We never showed our hand on any of this, that it was going to be overwhelming for us or too much. Big of an opportunity to play games with and put them on hold for a future day. You don't do that. Not me.
Because that future day may never come.
Never come. They may circle around and find another Black-owned pancake mix.
Of
course. And I needed to be that one. And so we said, okay, that's fine. We can do G3. And so back. And she says, actually, the host, Tori Johnson, who does the feature for Steals and Deals, she said, actually, Tori wants to put you guys on GMA.
The main thing.
And I was like, okay.
We gonna really figure this out.
So I was like, so how many units you think that need? And she was like, so like if you guys can set aside like 15,000 to 20 units. Like, girl,
like, we never did that in the lifetime of the company yet.
Like, baby girl, 5K yesterday. What made you think I got the 20 today? And the beautiful thing about the setup is that, so you didn't have to pay for the feature. They didn't want any money from us up front or anything. We just had to present or create the product, right? And of course they get a percentage of your sales, which I didn't mind that because the exposure was something I could have never.
It was ridiculous. Yeah.
Yes, we were in millions of homes across America.
That's amazing.
Long story short, we ended up buying more time and asking them, could we please do it a month later? Like, we cannot do this in 2 weeks. And so they were like, okay, we can put you guys, here, whatever, God works in such a beautiful way. Because we did not know, nor did they know, that Quaker Oats would announce Aunt Jemima's rebranding a week later, which was, two later, which was actually on Juneteenth. So yes. Juneteenth was going to be that Friday. Aunt Jemima announced it. Well, Quaker Oats announced it that Thursday. We were supposed to be on that Monday. Wow. So as soon as they announced,
highly relevant.
Yes. Now remember, in the beginning of this conversation, I said that we were replacing Aunt Jemima. We weren't going to be on the shelves with them. They were going to be gone. Well, indeed, the name is gone. The brand is gone. The product, the box is there, but Aunt Jemima does not exist next to Vicky Cakes. It's Pearl Milling Co. So even when you think about that,
it happened.
It happened.
Okay, prophetess. I mean, I think DTC is gone. We're talking about prophetess over here now.
So the power in the words and in my belief from the beginning, I recall having conversations with people when we first started saying we're replacing Aunt Jemima, and they would just be dead silent on the phone. And I didn't care, because for me, it wasn't me trying to convince you. I was already convinced. Yeah. I was bold enough to tell you, not caring if you thought I was crazy. It never mattered. I never wavered in that. So when they announced it on that Thursday, ABC calls our phone Thursday evening.
Of course.
And says, can you guys do tomorrow? Mm-hmm. No. No, I cannot. Now, and I understood what they were doing.
They were trying to make the news.
They were trying to make news. They were trying to position us.
We got your next one. That's old news. We got your next brand to buy. They got the vision as well, and they didn't even know it.
They were all about the assignment. And so even in that, I appreciated that level of tenacity and assertiveness, even though they never said it on our phone calls. They never acknowledged what Quaker had announced, but I knew what they knew. And that was that they wanted to present a narrative that we have a Black-owned pancake mix the day after Quaker announced their rebranding that we're going to put into the homes of Americans all across the globe.
Hot news for some hot cakes, okay?
Come on, all right? So we at first I was like, Cortney, we can't do this. Like, this is too soon. We need this weekend to buy us more production time. And so he was like, no, we're going to go with it. We're going to do it. And so I was like, okay. So we told him yes. We couldn't work it out because PayPal, which was going to be processing everything, was closed on the 10th. So PayPal, their team did not have time, the 24-hour takes to reset the account, to start receiving payments a day, within a day's time, whatever they had to do. They couldn't figure out the back end, which worked in our favor because it was just Monday. We were still going to be on that Monday anyway. So we didn't lose any traction there. Yeah. But it was just beautiful, the divine connection that aligned with everything perfectly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so we had that sale. And in that day, we sold over 156,000 bags of pancake mix.
Are you serious?
Oh, yes. I am very.
So you didn't have those made yet at that point?
No, I think I have 3,000 bags made, and I'm not even, no cap. No, they didn't know that either. They did not know that. Wow. I hired some people. I hired like all kind of teenage summer help. Girl,
everything.
We put out an in need of our neighborhood, like on our neighborhood page or whatever. Yeah. We put out a call for people to label bags, because at the time we weren't even getting our bags made from a manufacturer. We were still labeling regular white poly bags, like peeling stickers off and putting them on by hand. So we had people from the neighborhood that we didn't even know who was like, we were like, we'll give you $12 an hour to label these bags, do as many as you can, and get paid like the same day. So girl, we had people pulling up, moms, people that were just home because it was a pandemic.
It's a pandemic.
So they needed work from home opportunity, right? So they were coming to pick up boxes. Cortney had a little log sheet. This is literally the story that you can't make this up.
You can't make that up.
How everybody.
And this is what it takes. Like, this is part of the process. You see you guys on the shelf now, but it was all of this that happened before that. And that is sometimes your story. A lot of times there's something like that that's going to happen where you don't get the glamour, and being on the shelf also is not glamorous necessarily, but it's worth it by the time you done did all that.
Yes. And even in just saying it back, my mind is just going back to what that was like in the moment. I was just off of adrenaline. I never got a chance to sit with it. I never got a chance to wallow or to be scared or afraid or anxious. I had to act. I had to do. I had to be, because we had created this opportunity by this point.
Yeah.
So it was no failing. It was no stepping back and shrinking. It was stand up, be bold, get yourself together, stick your chest out and show up for Vicky Cakes.
Yeah.
Because the world. So I'm literally sitting in my kitchen watching all of these people placing orders, watching the visits to the site go, like from 500 people to 2,500 people, from 2,500 people to 7,800 active visits to, like, I'm talking crazy watching it happen. The people that were behind the site, like in ABC behind the scenes on the sale, they said they'd never seen a sale happen like that before. They had never seen orders roll in. And I knew at that moment that we were doing exactly what we were meant to be doing. And I will forever be grateful for the love, the support, and making it through that time.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I believe in destiny, because I think that was in the plans for you. The way that was so well orchestrated. You literally can't make that up. Just the right things being in place.
Yeah.
So that you could have this opportunity to replace what was there and to kind of create your own vision of what we deserve to have on the shelf now.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that.
Beautiful.
So at some point, you get the rest of these bags made, you ship these things out. Talk to me about how you further grow your manufacturing capabilities. Because at this point, you're doing it all still. You're able to do all of that still at your house, which is amazing. It's like, wow.
It was crazy. Our living room, flour was everywhere. Flour was in everything. And all of our counters, it was in our bathroom. It was because it floats. Like, even if it's not going up in your face, it's going up and settling. You know what I'm saying? So we had my dining room table is still in my garage because we just never brought it back in, girl.
Right.
We moved it. We had tables lined around the entire dining room as a fulfillment center. Like, people had like boxes. They were at every table. Oh my goodness. We had people in our living room sealing bags by hand. We had all kind of teenagers, that just needed summer jobs. It was a beautiful mess. I will say that. And of course we knew we couldn't continue that way. So we started, we went ahead and rented out an hourly commercial kitchen.
Yeah.
Which is good, because once you have your manufacturer's license and they are already licensed for food preparation and manufacturing, you don't have to worry about getting a facility examined or any kind of health inspection. Under
their inspections.
Exactly. Their insurance and all of that. So we found a good place to do that at, but it was about 40 minutes away from my house. But we did it because we had to. We needed the space. People had to get up out of my house. So we were, renting that hourly every day. They felt like they had celebrities in the place because they were like, they were on GMA. I'm like, get out of here. I need to make these bags. Okay. I want to talk to you about that. I need to make these products.
I want to focus, get to my next level.
Yes. So we started manufacturing out of a commercial kitchen hourly. We had outgrew it before we even started using it, but we knew we needed the space. So every day we were going in there producing thousands of bags, and we had to pack them and bring them back to my house to store them because we couldn't leave them there at the facility because we needed to ship them off from my house. Yeah. So it was double the work. We were making them, filling them, sealing them, repacking them into containers and bringing them home. We were renting a U-Haul for weeks at a time because we didn't have a big enough vehicle for that, which was crazy, but we had to do what we had to do. Yeah. And so it became to where, my husband was like, we have to find our own spot. Like, we can't keep doing this. We're putting out hundreds of dollars every week for U-Haul. We're putting out thousands of dollars every week for the kitchen. We could be paying our own, rent somewhere for our own facility. And I was like, you're right. I just don't have the energy to care about that. Can you go find a building while I keep producing?
Right.
And, he did that. He found a building for us. We went and looked at some. Even that process was so seamless. Had I probably thought about getting a facility prior to GMA and the big engulfing of things, it probably would have been stressful. I probably would be like, oh my goodness, well, what if we don't make enough? And what if we don't have this? And what do they want us to do to get a commercial facility? When I tell you it was seamless, they didn't ask for no taxes. They didn't ask for no bank statements. They essentially just wanted us to have a manufacturer's license, get our certificate of occupancy, get our health inspection, and they gave us the keys. We made the deposit and that was it. And so even that stuff, which sometimes you can overthink things to make it more than what it is, it cripples you with fear.
Yeah,
but if
I'm glad you said that.
The momentum and the flow, that stuff can't even come to you because based on what you're doing, and you're allowing that to flow into your experience of peace and clarity and just line up for you. So we were in the commercial kitchen for maybe 3 weeks, not even a whole month.
Wow.
And we were out.
Wow.
We were going with the wind. Okay.
Yeah.
And we've been in our own manufacturing facility this September 2nd for a whole year. So
how does that feel? You have your own facility.
Girl.
Wow.
It's beautiful. It's amazing. For me, I think it was probably the end of last year. Cortney asked me, he said, did you notice what you did today? Because I meditate every morning, right? So back then I would meditate about going into our facility. I would visualize pulling up to our facility and going into the building and waving at our team members while I walked to my office. And I would tell him that, like, oh, I had a good meditation this morning. I saw myself walking into Vicky Cakes, waving at the team while I went to my office or whatever while they were working. Well, one day, last year, he asked, you just see what you did? You actually did what you said you visualized. Like, you came in and you walked past Venetia while they were filling, you checked on everybody, said good morning, you came in here and sat down. And I said, you're right. Wow. That literally happened. Now, I had been doing it for multiple days for time, but he was there to actually bring it back to my remembrance, that I actually saw it before I saw it, that I actually accepted that as my reality before it became my truth. And I didn't have to chase it. I didn't have to, cry over it. I didn't have to beg. I allowed it with my peace and with my, with my intentionality, if you will. Internally to align with that as my reality. So
that is really good. I'm curious to know what comes with the responsibility of owning your facility. You went from it just being you to now having a group of people. Talk to us about some of those steps that many people, until you're there, you don't necessarily think about. What are some of those things now that you're on this side? What are some of those responsibilities that you have now?
Processes. You have to have processes. I don't even know what else to say. And it's funny because my husband had been telling me this for months before GMA. He had started saying, you need to get you some help, Christian. You shouldn't be doing this by yourself. Because I was making a mix. I was sealing the bags. I was filling them. I was shipping orders. I was doing everything. And he kept saying, at least you get you some weekend help. Are offloading this, write down everything you're doing so it's easy to train people. And I never did it. And then GMA hit and I had to hire people on a whim and I didn't have any processes in place. I just knew how I had been doing it, but it wasn't streamlined to where I could explain to them and walk away, right? So now I have streamlined the process to where I can give instruction, do a little training, and remove myself. I have the tools and the resources in place to where every job in Vicky Cakes is easy. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I enjoy getting in there sometimes and sealing a few bags because it's relaxing. It's so fun and it's so, low pressure, low stress. So for me, it was about being able to implement all of these things. And now that we have our own manufacturing facility, we know our numbers. We know what inventory count needs to be. We're not overproducing. We're not, under, the if GMA were to call tomorrow, not a problem. We could do that way easier now because, well, since then we've done GMA 2 more times. So we did a secret sale again last year, and then in October. So we had our first sale in June, and then we did a secret sale in October just to email to their people, and then we did it again this March. So when they featured us for their women in business that they had. So
congratulations on that. I mean, that means you're working it for a GMA because they're like, bring her back. right? Bring her back.
Yeah. And so when you can meet those standards, which they have high standards, they want to get those orders out within 2 to 3 days. They have a consumer base, an audience that expects to get good deals and to have great experience in customer service. If you burn that bridge, you don't get that kind of exposure. I would not do it multiple times a year because of how it bottlenecks you for the next couple of months to keep up with your own inventory and your own customers.
Yes.
From the first GMA, we gained over 15,000 customers. So now they're in our database. So we can send them our own deals and we can send them our own specials and our own email and communication. So if we go back on GMA again, I have to pretty much ignore our people to cater to the new crowd and then be back ordered for months. Right. And I'm not
you have your own promotional strategy going on that you sort of have to navigate around and be careful of what else you're doing in the marketplace.
Absolutely.
Makes
correct.
Sense.
Yep.
Okay. So another piece that I wanted to talk about was your Jewel Osco, which is really getting to a major retailer. I think Good Morning America, all of these things were really great and really led up to you being able to more recently get into retail. Talk to us about this experience and some of the learnings you had there.
So Jewel Osco, honestly, to me, is like a golden goose egg because it really did fall in our laps. And I say that because we weren't aggressively pursuing retail. It was one of those things where we have a brokerage firm that represents us. We don't have a contract with them, but brokers, if you're not sure, if your audience isn't familiar with how brokers work, they will broker and pitch or present your products to different category buyers. And if they accept, broker a deal for you to get in, and they get a percentage of whatever that deal is.
Yeah, I heard before in one of your other interviews that you're with Navigator with Subriana, which I love her. Yes.
Yeah, so Sabrina and her husband
are in great hands.
So we love it. They reached out to us. She reached out to Cortney like in August of last year. And so she just presented everything to him, what they're doing, how they're helping, minority-owned businesses, underrepresented, companies and brands. And so I told Cortney, I said, we can work with them in whatever deal they broker. I don't mind giving them a percentage. If they have the connections in the network, then you're increasing my net worth. And I want that. Okay.
Yeah. So actually dig into that for us some more. So we just told you what a broker is. They present your products on your behalf because Christian and Cortney, they're not able to be all across the country all at the same time. They're managing the business. So when you work with a broker, that's someone who's presenting the business on your behalf. They also have a portfolio of other items, but they usually don't let it be something that competes. And they're going to retailers that they think would be a great fit, and some of which they have relationships with. So talk to us about sort of some of the things you learned from working with a broker so that those who are not so familiar, now that they know what it is, they understand what the benefit of it is and sort of how does it work?
Yeah, so it's really, like you said, the representation piece for us. How well can you tell our story? What are your relationships like with these buyers? How much do they trust you? Because I don't want you misrepresenting our brand or being flippant about it or not actually taking the initiative or being assertive. Because if I'm going to say yes to you doing this, I really want you to put in the same amount of effort that we're putting in on the back end, which is when they go and look us up after you talk about us, they're going to then be interested just based off of our grit and our hunger in the market. We're not missing in action for months. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to not be able to see our footprint online. We've been featured in mass media and on huge platforms. So that speaks volumes. Can you back up your portion? And that's when it matters what kind of relationship you get into, because a lot of people are going to want to represent you to say they represent you if you're a good brand, but can they actually bring something to the table? And that's what I care about. I bring families to the table with pancake mix. So you're going to bring some stores to the table with your broker services.
Yes.
We'll be doing it. Because you can't just have my name on the roll to say, oh yeah, I presented Vicky Cakes to such and such. You may be using me as clout, another brand to say yes to your broker service, but you're not actually doing any work for me. And that would then be something that I would want to tell people that may be considering you. Don't let them, because they're not going to get you anywhere. And it's not putting pressure on the broker either, right? So we don't put pressure on brokers because they don't control category buyers. The buyers decide.
Yeah.
What you're doing is you're allowing the brokers to follow up, to present, follow up, and close the deal.
Which is a full-time job sometimes, because category managers are so busy. You're not always top of mind. So the broker could really help. Yep. Anytime you do something, they could say, oh, check out Vicky was featured here, or they keep you top of mind, right?
Yes.
And really seal the deal. And so I could see how Sabrina with Navigator Sales was really a great fit for you, because she is able to tell that story. She certainly has a long, successful career in grocery. So she understands those category buyers in the retail landscape and can really help you say where you should be, you know, in a way that's going to actually bring you more of the audience you're looking for, bring you more of the customers that make sense for you.
Yep. And that's exactly what they did. So we had a talk with them in January of this year, I believe. And it's funny because at the time she was saying, well, Jewel is getting ready to have their breakfast category up, and we're going to look at pitching you guys to them as well. And so I said, you know, it would be great if we could get Jewel, because that's hometown for me. I said, my mom still lives in Gary. There's a store in Crown Point, which is right up the street. You know, that's home. I grew up driving past Jewel. Now, Jewel wasn't our store. We was, you know, Aldi and Stack and Van Til and Wiseway. But I knew that Jewel was like a staple in our community. It was a staple for people to get their prescriptions and their groceries. So it was like, I would love that. I would love for her to be able to walk into her local grocer and see her face on the shelf. That is epic. Even if I'm not in town, she still can go see herself right now tonight on the shelf. And so she said, okay. She said, consider it done. So we were done, visited it. Don't know when they had the meeting with Jewel or anything. All I remember is being in the kitchen one day, washing dishes, and Cortney came downstairs and said, Sabrina just emailed us and said, congratulations, you guys have been approved to go in 156 Jewel Oscos. And I was like, you need to stop lying. Like at this point, I'm back at the ABC memories. I'm like, this is a scam. I don't like it.
I'm dying.
It was so surreal. It was such a unbelievable feeling, because again, we don't know what comes with that. We just knew that we had gotten a yes.
Yeah.
We didn't know how any of that worked, because retail is one of those kind of things where you can never get enough information before it happens.
Yeah.
You are constantly.
And I work in it, and that's still the case. I work in grocery retail and brand management, and it's still, there's always something unique to the process. Also, everyone's journey to it is somewhat different, you know, based on your category, you have different complexities. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's definitely the experience is definitely like the real thing.
It is. And so it's one of those things, because I get people to ask me, like, how do I get my such and such in a retail, or how do I get this in a retail, and how do you think I should present this to HEB? And I'm like, do some brokers, because I can't help you.
You're like, I don't know. I don't know. Right.
And that's always my story. And it's crazy because people are always like, well, how did you guys get featured here? And who's your PR? And who do you use for this? And I'm like, the Lord, I don't know. Because I don't have nobody. Like, it just be happening. GMA literally just emailed us out the blue. We've asked these people, how did you guys find us? Where did you guys see us? And they're like, we'll have to get back to you on that. I think such and such emailed me. And I'm like, oh my goodness, help me to help the people, you know?
Yeah. I mean, thankfully, I think there is more transparency around how to get in retail. That's why this exists. We're going to be coming out with our checkout series that really goes into more of those questions. But honestly, once you have that product and you get on that journey, just like you guys experience, that's when a lot of things are revealed. So we can tell you all about it, but it's kind of like exercise. I can tell you everything to do, but you're going to have to get in that ring. You're going to have to, you know, feel the feels and really navigate the process. It is helpful to have a broker to really help you through those conversations, because they just have seen it so many times. So that's definitely something I recommend as well. But some people don't. And again, their process and their experience is sometimes different, where they're able to just contact a buyer through email. So much of it depends. So I never want to make it seem like it's black and white, because it's absolutely not. It varies so much. So, you know, it's really about having that goal and doing whatever it takes to be able to do it. And whatever it takes looks quite different for a number of different companies.
Because even Sabrina told us that, you know, our situation is so unique because it never happens this quick for people. And we know that because we had a broker deal before Sabrina and Navigator, and we spent over a year actually paying them monthly, and we got no results. We sent out a lot of samples, but we got no bites. And that's fine because everything works in the right time. And I don't believe we were ready for market at the time. But it prepared us because in thinking that they would get us something, we got our barcodes. Yes. We got, you know, we prepared. You prepared. Yes. Yeah, we were prepared. So none of this was in vain. None of it is a wait until you get here to get it. No. Get it now. Yes. So you're ready when that opportunity presents itself. Because you're always behind the 8 ball if you're waiting for paperwork, if it's in processing, if it's on the way. I ain't got time for none to be on the way, okay? I needed my trademark to be getting reviewed when we were on national TV. I didn't have time to apply for a trademark after GMA and somebody else heard Vicky Cakes and wanted to capitalize off of it for me to have to buy it from them. Set your things in place, start, but it all starts from belief. If you believe it's gonna be a big thing,
treat it like it is. Yeah. Do all the steps, don't cut corners. And you guys didn't cut corners, but there are certain things you didn't know to do ahead of time. So, you know, looking back, you know, what are some things you would do within that first 3 months of building your company so that you're like super prepared for any opportunity?
Man, I don't know. And I'm saying this because I like the way
it worked out, right? Ultimately. Yeah. Which is also saying that, you know, it is a journey.
Yeah.
You know, be patient, but also, you know, when you realize something else is the next step, just take that next step. And it doesn't always mean that you're behind. There are some basics. You got the LLC, you got the web, those things. Yes. Those I would say are basics for your business. You definitely want those to move forward. But in terms of some of the other stuff like trademarking, okay, get your package, make sure that's the name you want. There are certain things you might wait for an indicator, you know, to be able to say, I'm going to put in this extra investment. Because the other thing we can't, you know, be blind to is that all of these things are investments. They do cost money. So, you know, pacing it out, which is entirely what you all did, pacing it out will get you far.
Yes, it will. And we've been told that so many times. People have been like, you guys should apply for this funding, and you should do this and you should do that. And then like when we talk to certain people, they're like, you guys are growing at the right pace. Like, do not overdo it and overextend yourself to where you have too many hands in the pot and too many people in the mix, literally, to where you find yourself just, you know, at a point where you're just trying to keep your water or trying to figure out the next step or the next this or the next that. Allow it to be organic. And that's what we've allowed to happen. Not rushing anything, but trusting the process the entire time. And realizing that something like this that you plan to be around forever, you cannot have an overnight mindset and approach to it. I've never focused on the small end of it. I've always focused on the bigger vision. I know that we're here to replace a brand completely. So I can't be out here treating this like a side hustle. That's offensive to me. Don't call this a hustle, because I'm not hustling people to buy pancakes. I am literally out here changing the scope of the way our culture is seen, the way that we engage around the table, and the way that we create memories, and the way that we have representation on our screens and in our homes. So I really don't want that to be, you know, deduced, if you will, to just being a token Black-owned business. Don't do that. I don't want sympathy purchases. I want generational wealth built off of the fact that we're now your choice brand. Okay. So yeah, and then be able to put that back into our community and create jobs and to create resources and grants and scholarships for other single mothers like my mother who couldn't pursue entrepreneurship. I want to do that for other moms. Be that for other children who may be privileged like I was and couldn't do a lot of things. Having those things in place that's the long game. That's the long game. So
and I love your mindset about all of this. You know, you're quickly going to become a lot of people's favorite entrepreneur. Talk to us about the next frontier, Vicky Cakes. I know you got into some of it just now, but tell us what we could envision on your journey to replacing a brand, but even you've already done that. So let's start to redefine and even say just dominance, being that number one best pancake mix out there, best pancake and waffle mix out there. What are some other things we could expect from Vicky Cakes?
Yeah, well, recently I launched a branch on my own to do some consulting, some branding strategy and consulting for businesses who simply just want to know what the next step should be and how to really secure some of these opportunities and position yourself properly for it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people want to know what to do, but they're not ready if it actually happens. A lot of people want to know how to get these things to happen, but are you ready for them if they happen? A lot of things we had to learn as we went along, but had I had a mentor, I honestly feel like we could have gotten a lot more done sooner, even though it's only 2 years. I know y'all probably know, what could you have done sooner? But a lot of the bumps, a lot of the, uncertainty there, or just like really
unknowns. Yeah.
So I'm not saying that I can be the answer to everything, but there are some people that really are operating below what they actually could because they simply don't know the strategy to get into the next position. So just doing some consulting is called Sure Consulting. I'm sure of certain strategies and ways to go about things in the marketplace, whether you're service-based business or product-based. I just want to, be a resource in whatever way that I can, because I know that experience is the best teacher ever. Words, definitely can teach. It can tell you some things, but when you experience it for yourself, you come from a different angle and position for it. And then being a resource in our brand, right? So I know that a lot of people have initiatives within their brands to save the world and the planet. And I don't mind that. We're looking and hoping to plant at least 10,000 trees by next year. That's what Cortney want to do. So I'm gonna support that mission, okay? But the people are definitely a mission for me as far as being a resource and advocate for other minority business owners. So
that makes complete sense for your story. I want to do that. So we've been really blessed and fortunate to be featured with some very popular brands that are growing and scaling and in the front of everybody's faces right now. And so with that, I want us to pull together and have town hall meetings where we can talk to each other and discuss what we're dealing with in the marketplace. And if there are brokers that may not be doing them right, we can suggest them to ours. Or if they have fulfillment companies they're using I just want to be able to share resources, something that we don't often do in our communities. I'm ready to actually be a pillar for that to happen in a safe place and not feel like we're each other's competition, because we're not. Yeah, well, we definitely have to bring Christian, the consultant, on for one of the checkout series so we can, help demystify some things, maybe answer some real questions live for folks and really talk about some of those pitfalls. Because I think that's a great mission, really giving back while you're in a place where you really remember the process and you can give people that peace of mind to say, I literally did that, been there, still here on a different level, but you can be here too. I think that's amazing. And we need more of that in our community to grow and for us to also have those opportunities. We don't always have access, but you're creating access. So that's super commendable.
Yeah, and that matters. And I'll also be launching a chat with CEOs in September. So that'll be hosted on the Vicky Cakes.
We got to stay tuned.
Yeah, so and that'll be on the IG, on Instagram Live, because I'm always looking at the trends, right? And so I know video is huge, and I know that at one point Clubhouse was like popping for a real hot minute. It was driving people to that platform, but it was making people feel left out. Like if you didn't have an iPhone at one point, you couldn't get on, and then you couldn't get on if somebody didn't invite you into their room, and then you couldn't actually access it unless somebody sent you an invitation to join the platform. And so for that, I'm really big on inclusivity. I like for people to have access because we have enough barriers. Like, don't create another one to keep me from hearing what may be that one piece of advice or information that can change the trajectory of my career or my life. So I don't mind those platforms, but I'd rather host something where people can access it easily without the barriers there. So chat with CEOs will be something where I can chat with some of the popular minority owned and we can do spitfire rounds, ask them, questions behind the scenes, things that people probably don't see in the press, and like get the good information.
Get the real. Well, as when that comes along, we'll definitely pass it to the community, because I think the more we can hear each other's stories and learn from each other's experience, the more we can grow. That's how you strengthen a business community. And that's something we need to continue to do within our Black and Brown communities.
Absolutely.
We always ask those that we interview on the podcast, what does it mean to be Black on shelf? So I'd love to hear from you. You know, you've had 2.5 years of a lot of intense feelings. Talk to us about what, you know, how you sum that up and what it means for you to be Black on shelf.
What it means for me is it's always evidence and proof that you're good enough, you're always relevant, and you're never trying to prove yourself to anyone, right? So we got here, and now that we're here, we're going to give this all that we have, and we're not coming off of it. It's history for us, right? Yeah. So we're the first authentically Black-owned pancake mix to ever get into major retail, which is a very highly esteemed for me, because I know what my mother's, you know, past is, and I know what my past was, and I know what my children's future looks like because of our efforts and because of our beliefs. So with that, I am everyday conscious and intentional to make sure that our position is solidified, that our representation is equal, and that our voice is heard and represented in the best ways. And being Black means that nobody's gonna walk past and ever think or assume that it's something they're going to know what it is. This Vicky Cakes is owned by, it's operated by, and it's for the culture, for the people that genuinely keep family first.
Love that. So I saw also that you have some syrups. We talked mostly about the pancake mix and the waffle mix, but talk to us about the syrups, because that actually is also something folks can continue to look out for. You've been launching different flavors. Tell us about that.
Yes. So our syrup line is one that we formed last year, and I believe it was April, but we didn't drop it until the holiday. So we waited until November to drop it. And adding it, I was very intentional about that because that's a recipe that I formulated. So Vicky, it's a part of the Vicky Cakes brand, but it's not my mom's recipe.
Right.
It's one of those things where I honestly, I wanted it to be different in the market. So whereas we don't have any powdered milk or eggs in our mixes, I wanted to not have high fructose corn syrup in our syrup. I didn't want to have preservatives, artificial flavors, colors, or additives in that. And so that's doing research, right? That's going above and beyond to give a better experience overall and educate customers, because our syrup has to be refrigerated, because if it doesn't have preservatives, it can't sit on the shelf for months. Yeah. It can't, do that. Maple syrup is real and it should be refrigerated. Our syrup is real, so it needs to be refrigerated. So it's just really about carving out that space in the market to where people can still enjoy it. You don't have to adjust your taste buds, y'all. It ain't nasty, but it's just not going to be your traditional syrup that has all of the additives in it. And the different flavors of the month is something that I came up with because I'm like, cool. This is the way to keep people engaged and always looking out for something and having a limited quantity and really keeping it community focused and based. You don't want to miss out on it. So we've gotten a great response from it. And I think during the holidays, we're going to bring all of the flavors back. Oh. So I'm excited about that one. That's going to be
I'm just curious to watch out and see if there's going to be some fall flavors coming by. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, we definitely gonna have a little pumpkin spice and apple pie, come through, and that's an exclusive.
Okay, right? You got us. You got us then. Yes. Because around this time we all get real basic. Everything we turn everything into these flavors is just a thing at this point. I have a coworker who. She's gonna need this because everything they make under the sun in fall flavors she has to have. We were just talking about this, so I will become her favorite at this point and expose her to Vicky Cakes.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So tell the Boss Fam where they can follow you so we can stay engaged. There's obviously a lot continuing to go on and come down the pipeline, so we definitely want to continue to support Christian and Cortney. Tell us how we can follow you.
Yeah, so you can follow us on Instagram at Vicky Cakes Pancake Mix. Yeah. And you can follow us on Facebook at Vicky Cakes Pancake and Waffle Mix. Awesome. So there, and then we're on Instagram as well.
I think I heard Cortney.
Talking to our kids.
Okay, he'll have to join us the next time when you have another milestone, or when maybe both of you are talking about some of the things y'all have done as part of your growth. So we'll definitely include him too. But this was such a great conversation. You know, I knew we would learn a lot from you, and thank you for being so generous in sharing your experience, because this is literally where we learn. I hope folks, there's something in them that have sparked, if they could see themselves in your story, how you've gotten started and really push yourself to see this thing through the finish line, and you're not even done yet. You know? So we're here rooting for you and so excited for your success.
Thank you so much for everything. I appreciate it. The best of luck to you and all that you do. Thank you for this platform, and even wanting to get these stories and these journeys out to your people for inspiration, because we all need it all the time.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to hearing the next one, and just being an avid follower and subscriber to all of your content, because it's like the next woman. So
thank you.